Since starting my health coaching business in 2009, I've added over 35,000 names to my mailing list. And I started at zero, just like you. Hey there, health coaches. You want to hear a crazy number? I mean, a crazy number. Since starting my health coaching business in 2009, I've added over 35,000 names to my mailing list. And I started at zero, just like you. So when I look back, I see how growing that list has been definitely one of the most important things that I've done in my business. It's probably the most important thing that I've done in my business. And if I were starting from scratch today with zero subscribers or zero advertising budget, here's exactly what I would do. Now, just to be clear, right now, I do not have 35,000 names as active subscribers on my mailing list. I want to be transparent about that. Of course I don't. I've added those names through the years, but people come, people go. And let's be honest, some of those AOL or Yahoo addresses from like 10 or 15 years ago, they probably aren't active anymore. So when you think about your mailing list, remember that it isn't something that you're going to build once and call it done. It doesn't work like that. It's something that you are continuously adding to. And that's exactly what I've been doing for the past 16 years, adding over 35,000 names. So before we get into the nitty-gritty today, if you know your mailing list isn't working for you, if you're not really sure where to start, I am teaching my brand new List Growth Lab workshop soon. I'll be walking you through a simple formula I use to grow a mailing list that actually creates paying happy clients. I'm going to go through the process step by step so you can plug the system into your own business. And you can sign up now at healthcoachpower.com/listlab. This is a workshop specifically for health coaches because, I've been in your shoes and I know that it can be tricky. So why not get a clear plan to follow? You can go to healthcoachpower.com/listlab to sign up now. So let's get into it for today. If I were starting from scratch, wow, that's going back a bunch of years. First of all, I would start with a true email service provider. And I suggest that you do the same, okay? So no Gmail accounts for this game. Those are not appropriate for marketing emails, and they're not going to give you the data that you need to grow because you want to be able to see your open rates or your click rates. So for those of you that are here live, tell me what email service you're using in the comments. I have my eye over here because I'm curious. Whatever service you use, I just want you to know that you're getting the benefits, you're getting the data, you're getting that unsubscribe link at the bottom. You're going to be compliant. You're going to be more professional when you're using an actual email service. My favorite for health coaches right now is called Kit. It used to be called ConvertKit. Now they call it Kit. And they have a very generous free plan. And that's why I like it for you. We have a free setup tutorial for that. If you need it, you can go to healthcoachpower.com/mailing list. It'll be all set up with Kit lickety split. Ooh, that rhymed. Or, of course, you could use whatever service that you like. I see Linda here is on Kit. Lisa says she's on MailerLite. Great. Go with it. Use whatever service you like as long as you have one. The next thing that I would do, and I had to think about this because, I have added a lot of names to my list through the years. So what would I do differently if I were starting over? What would I do differently given the climate like today, the way people act today? And I realized the one thing I would definitely do differently is I would lean into my network, friends and family, of course, but even better, like if I have friends or if you have friends with their own audience of some kind, they run a group. They have their own business, whatever it is. They have their own podcast or their own blog or their own social media following. Great. Lean into that. Because maybe if I have friends like that, and I did in those early years of my business, and I did this to a small degree. I should have done it more. Those friends can offer your free stuff to their audiences. They can help you get in front of new eyes, like exponentially more than you could ever do on your own. So lean into those people. Also think about any groups that you belong to, like a book club or a walking group, or goodness, start one. Any local businesses that you frequent or that you can start to frequent. Organizations, though, I'm talking about the school PTA or the natural food store or the yoga studio or the gym. Head down to the YMCA and start talking to whoever's behind the desk. That sort of thing. The smoothie shop in town. I would go in there with flyers. These days, you would have a QR code on that flyer and invite people to my next free event or to download a free resource. And I would make friends with the owner. Oh my goodness. If you write down one thing today from this episode, write down, make friends with the owner. If you don't already have friends in these positions, make some, because they're going to want to collaborate with you. They are also running a small business. So maybe they put my freebie into their newsletter. Maybe I can put something from them into my next email or whatever. Maybe I can hold a workshop in their space and they're offering more value to their clientele. Make it a win-win for both of us. And don't forget about local events either, because these are definitely other things to get involved with. And I did a little bit, like I said, a little bit of this back in the day when I started my coaching business. But now, hindsight's 2020, right? I can see that for every minute spent having a real conversation with someone, the payoff is much, much greater down the line versus being on social media. I'm just saying. So basically, if I were starting today, I would spend way more time talking to real people. I know that's a crazy idea, than I would sitting there scrolling and refreshing Instagram. So I'll just pause here and ask those of you that are live with me, when was the last time you made a connection in your local community? Or it could be online, but with another business owner, someone else who has their own audience. Are you going out of your way to make friends? That's all it is. You can get so much marketing done when people just know and like you. Now, here's something I definitely wouldn't do if I were starting over. I would not waste time. I would not waste money with Facebook ads. From my lips to God's ears, you heard it here first. I've probably told you this. If you haven't heard this story, I wanted to tell you about the time that I ran an ad for my health coaching business and I got completely kicked off of Facebook ads. I mean, I was banned like a bad person. I don't know what I did wrong because it was an ad that was totally normal. It wasn't anything spammy or weird. And they had approved it. And then it's running and bam, I get kicked out. When that happens, you have no one to talk to. There's no recourse. So years and years later, I started hiring ad teams, read very expensive ad teams, to help me get back on the platform, get my account functioning again, run some ads the right way, because obviously I didn't know what I was doing. It is very expensive to hire those people. It is very expensive to run ads. And I felt like by the time I paid for all of that, I got some results from the ads, but they weren't that great. So I wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of energy here. I wouldn't do it again. 1 star, would not recommend. If you're a newer coach, just skip all that. I feel like you really need money to burn before you can be successful here, because there's going to be a lot of experimentation with ads before you figure out what's working. Okay, Lisa says that last Tuesday she attended a local benefits fair. Great. I don't know what a local benefits fair is, Lisa, but hopefully you met some people, you exchanged contact information, and you're going for coffee next week. Do that. No technology required, right? It's just relationship building. Linda says, I've made some new connections online whereby we are now going in front of each other's audience. Yes, cross-pollinate. That is exactly what you want to be doing. And sometimes you'll do this kind of cross-pollination with somebody else's audience and it doesn't lead to anything, or they have a very small audience and you're like, oh, why did I bother doing this? But every now and then, you're going to hit the right person, the right audience, and it blows up for you. So just stick with it. Just keep practicing doing those sort of joint ventures. It's going to pay off. All right, so content creation. is another way to reach new audiences for sure. And you can definitely build your list this way. I think it has a very important role. Now, if I were starting over today, yes, I would absolutely start a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel or maybe all three. I don't know. But I would do it knowing that this path is going to be a little bit slower. It's just a slower road to getting in front of people and finding that list growth. Unless by some miracle you just hit the algorithm just right or whatever and you go viral, but that is like a 1 in a million chance, maybe a 1 in a 10 million chance. Really what's going to happen is you're going to create consistent content and it pays off in the long run. And I know because I spent a lot of time blogging in my early years of business. I mean, I would blog like several times a week, and it was one of the main activities, I would say, of my work week back then. It took time. Now, if you are going to do this, first, I'm glad I set your expectations around that, but the key is to always pair your content with a relevant freebie so that you're collecting those email addresses. Every time someone is reading your blog post or listening to your podcast episode, super, super important. So I didn't do this in the beginning. I was blogging for years and years and years. If I could start all of that over again, I would make sure that I was blogging about topics that would strategically, on purpose, lead to someone wanting my freebie so that my readers wouldn't just be readers. Now they'd be names on my mailing list. And I would make sure to do that. I don't mean once or twice, always. Like any piece of content that's going out there, I'd be trying to make sure that there was some connection. How do I get this person on my mailing list? Because that's the path that we want them to take. We want them to find you, think you're pretty cool, get on your mailing list. Now they think you're even cooler, and the relationship builds from there. So anyway, if I was starting from scratch, yes, start a blog, start a podcast, whatever. But I wouldn't worry so much about going viral because I'd rather get 10 new names on my mailing list than 10 million views that are just views. And as I keep mentioning, I would kind of put that over here on the side and lean more heavily on making real life friends and having conversations and working out those mutually beneficial arrangements with other small businesses. You're just going to get there faster if you're not hiding behind a screen. I know it's hard. It's scary. So when we're talking about, blogging, podcast, content creation, are you doing any of that now? And I want you to decide and maybe tell me in the chat what your gut is telling you. Should you double down on doing that in a more strategic way? Put that long-term strategy into place. Make sure you're always connecting to some way for people to opt into your mailing list. Or are you spending a lot of time on that, too much time, like I was, and maybe it's worth just hitting pause there and going back to the the most simple, technology-free ways of marketing yourself, which is relationship building. Right? I would say just pick a path. There's no right or wrong. I just want to make sure that you have finite energy. Make sure you're using it wisely. All right. So I keep mentioning freebies. That means free downloads, free resources, free events, in-person, online events. Any of these things you can be inviting people to. They are essential in building your mailing list. Right now, tell me yes or no in the comments. Do you have a freebie to offer me? Like if I just met you for the first time, I was interested in what you do as a health coach, whatever. Do you have anything for free that you can offer me right now? Yes or no? I mean, sometimes if you have a free event coming up, then you have that event and that's awesome, but then it's over. You want to make sure that you always have something to offer, if not multiple things. Because, if you find yourself in a conversation about a certain topic, it's nice if you have a freebie that is relevant to that topic versus if you're having a conversation about something slightly different, a different freebie might be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not attractive, but, might be the right thing to offer in that conversation. So main thing is that you always have something, And I see that Lisa does, and I see that Linda does. That's great. But also make sure as time goes on that you add to your repertoire so that if people are talking about I don't know, like, should they go keto and you're in the weight loss space? Like, it'd be really helpful if you had a freebie that like specifically addressed that. If you find the same question coming up over and over again, that's a great time to think about creating a freebie around it because you're going to have so many opportunities to share it if people are always asking. The main thing here is that your free stuff is so highly attractive to the people that you want on your mailing list, because you want them to sign up for it. Like, you want them to give you that email address. And I know an email address isn't money and you're giving them something for free, but it's not really free because an email address is valuable. We all know that. So you got to give them something valuable in return. So if I were starting from zero today, I would skip a lot of the generic, like 10 healthy tips or, 5 healthy breakfast recipes. That's the kind of stuff that I used to try to give away. And instead, create free stuff for my ideal client that's designed to make her think or to make him think, ooh, I need this. I need more from this coach. That's what they should be thinking. They shouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to go make this recipe. Okay, bye. It's like you're whetting their appetite. You're not just giving a gift in these cases. Like, it's not just a bribe. We used to hear the term like an ethical bribe. You're giving someone something and you're bribing them to get on your email list. I mean, that's not the spirit of it at all. A freebie that's going to lead to paying clients down the road, it needs to demonstrate your value and make someone think like, I bet this coach can really help me with my big problem, that thing that no one else has been able to help me with. Like, I'm seeing stuff here. I'm seeing that they understand. No one else seems to understand. Like, I need to get more from this person. And they're not going to feel that way when they read 10 generic tips that they could find anywhere. Like, that's not going to make them go, ooh, I need more from this health coach. So if I was starting all over again, I would be much, much more strategic about what I put out there so that my freebies attract people who actually need my help, not just people who like healthy recipes, and they just want the recipes and then I'm never going to hear from them again. And I want to talk about this because it's really important when we're talking about freebies or, again, any of your free events, anything that you're trying to get people to as an entry point. Your headlines matter so much. Like, I didn't think about it too much back in the day, which is funny because I came from advertising and you would think headlines would be top of mind for me, but I just didn't know how to make a great headline. And when I go back and I look at those early landing pages, where I was offering my free stuff, I read it and I'm like, oh God, who would want this? It sounds boring or it sounds irrelevant or it sounds confusing. No wonder it didn't work that well. Like, even if you are giving away something that is amazing in this box right here, your freebie is amazing. It's so great. No one's going to get it. No one's going to open the box unless your opt-in page sounds compelling. So you need a great headline. Now, thankfully, these days we have ChatGPT. So it's a whole lot easier to come up with headline ideas. I mean, if you just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me some headlines like this or around this topic, that the first few headlines it gives you may not be winners, but keep working with it. Say a little more intriguing, a little bit more about this, like, use your own knowledge and skills to edit them, like work with ChatGPT. And I think you're going to come up with much better headlines than I ever did back then. So if I were starting over, I would absolutely get comfortable with ChatGPT and lean on it, especially for headlines in this case, because you need those pages to be high converting. You want at least 25%, 30% of the people who land on your freebie opt-in page or your free event opt-in page to go ahead and give an email address because it sounds so good to them. Like, they really need that. They really are interested in that. It has to be like sounding so attractive or else they're not going to. And I see I have some questions and comments over here in my chat. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But first, I want to give you a really terrible headline from a freebie opt-in page that I created like 100 years ago. I went and dug it up just so that I could share it with you. And for the record, only 4% of people who saw this headline gave an email address. In fact, I was probably 1 or 2 of those people just testing the page, so it was probably more like 3%. Anyway, here's the headline. Imagine it on a web page. It said, "Meal by meal cheat sheet, how to pack more nutrition into your child's food." Meal by meal cheat sheet. I wrote those words. I read them yesterday and I was like, huh? What does that mean? Confusing. It looked confusing. It was way too long of a headline, too. Why would I want a meal by meal cheat sheet? And why would, if I were just like a normal person, not a health nerd, why would I want to necessarily pack more nutrition into my kids' food? I think I'm feeding them just fine. Like, why would I change that just for fun? I should have been talking about a pain point, something that the mother was maybe experiencing with her kids, like the why behind why she would want to change what she was feeding them, not just packing in nutrition for the sake of it. So I would have spent more time with the headlines. That is my point. Now let's see what we have over here. Lisa, going back to the idea of blogs, Lisa says, do you think blogs add to your credibility, help people find you trustworthy? Yes, I do. Go for it. But like I said, it's just a long game. You know, people will be reading your blog like 1 person here, 2 people there. You know, just a few people are going to be seeing it in the beginning. It just takes time. When your blog really starts having a return, like an ROI for you, and all the effort that you've put into it is when people are searching something and your article pops up, right? Or people are talking to their friend and the friend goes, oh, I just read something about that. And they remember your article because it was that specific. It was just exactly what they need to share right now. So like it has like a snowball effect over time in terms of getting in front of mass quantity of people. But yes, for the people who read them, absolutely helps add to your credibility and your trustworthiness. Okay, Velma says, this year I committed to network and build in-person relationships 1 to 2 times per week. Yes! She says, I have so much value in it. I currently have a summer-inspired, gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free recipe collection I'm offering as my freebie. Okay, I'm so glad that the relationship building is working for you, Velma. That's fantastic. I'm glad that you shared that because I know when I started my business, like I was very introverted in the beginning. Anybody else? Like you grow. As a business owner, you know, just in life, you grow, you change. And I don't find myself to be nearly as introverted as I once was. But I was so happy to just like sit behind my computer all day. I didn't want to go have those coffee dates. I didn't want to talk to people. But when I did, that's when magic things happened. All right, what's next here? If I was starting over, if I were trying to add 35,000 names to my mailing list all over again, I was thinking, you know, something else important would be, because like I told you, people come, people go. If you add 35,000 names, but you also lose 35,000 names, then you're at 0, right? So you're always adding new people. I think I would have put more effort into keeping my subscribers engaged, paying more attention to the open rates and the click rates. What do people want from me? And I would send just 1 simple email each week. Back in the day, I would write a whole email newsletter. 4 topics, 5 topics, maybe 3 recipes, book recommendations, 12 other pieces of content, just like all packed into this one long newsletter. It would take me days to write 1 email. And that does not work anymore. It certainly doesn't work for my schedule, but it also doesn't work for today's readers. Because if you think about it, people are just scrolling like quick on their phone like this. So it needs to be something they can easily understand, that they can consume at a glance. 1 clear message, 1 call to action. No fancy formatting, no images, just cut to the chase. And finally, if I were starting all over and I was trying to add names to my mailing list, I would immediately, as in today, unsubscribe from other health coaches' lists. Yes, I did do it eventually. I wish I had done it so much sooner because I found that the more I watched what other people were doing in the same space, right? So we were all offering health coaching. We were all offering our little like health coaching programs or whatever. I saw what they were doing and I was tempted to, I couldn't help but compare myself. And if it looked like they were doing better than I was, and I don't know how I judged that, but somehow I just assumed they were doing better than I was. It's just that whole compare and despair thing. And that will get you nowhere. That is the wrong energy to be bringing into your business. Or I found that I would unintentionally, or maybe even intentionally, get inspired by what I saw them writing or saw them doing in their emails. And then my brain would try to copy that. That did not help me. Like I needed to develop my own style and my own voice. And if I kept thinking that these people were doing a better job than I was and probably had more clients and I was believing that they were so much more successful than I was, then I wanted to mimic them. And that's not developing who I was. I was never going to stand out that way. And hot tip, wasn't even necessarily the case that they were so successful. Through the years, I can tell you this just because by now I've met so many practitioners, health coaches, in the health and wellness space. And there are these personalities out there and they look shiny and successful, and many of them are. But when you actually meet these people, sometimes they'll tell you how they're struggling and they're not making any money. And I was always shocked. I'm like, you kidding me? Your website is so nice. Your emails, like you always sound like you're on top of the world. And they're like, nope, not making a cent. Not everybody. I'm just saying enough times that's happened that I had to realize that when I was looking at the exterior of someone else's business, I was not seeing what was really going on in there. So it was so helpful to just block it out. Right? Stay in my own lane, run my own business, kind of mind my own business. If you need inspiration, I suggest looking for it in other places. Look at what other industries are doing, like other products, other services, and like what can you glean from that? What can you bring in from that? Because if you know a business is successful and there's something you admire about it, then you can use that without getting into that whole comparing yourself thing and all the negativity that comes with it. Linda said, that's such a great point. Mind my own business. Literally, right? Halfway through preparing this episode for you, I had to go back into my email service. I needed to double check that number because I was like, gosh, 35,000, it seems like an awful lot. And you know what? It turns out it's really more like 40,000, but I didn't want to change the name of the episode because I'd already started promoting it. So if you're starting at 0 or a couple hundred or like wherever you're at today, just know that it does take time. It takes small, consistent effort over time. Where have you heard that before? To do anything, right? And in this case, to build a substantial mailing list. And you can do it a lot more efficiently if you don't try to reinvent the wheel. So let me show you what works and what doesn't inside my List Growth Lab workshop for health coaches, where I'll give you an exact formula, exactly what I use. You can follow it and you can see results. It'll be much more smooth for you, hopefully more efficient and faster. You can sign up now at healthcoachpower.com/listlab and I hope to see you there. Take care, everybody.